Hey everyone, I'm here, and today we're going to tell the story of Ford. We all know that Henry Ford was a pioneer in many ways. He created the first car that was affordable to the common man. He created the first mass production line for automobiles. He even pioneered some of the most advanced marketing techniques ever seen up until his day. But what did he do after he started producing cars? What was the first car Ford put into production? And how much was it? Keep watching to find out. But before we get into it, I want to ask you guys for a really quick favor. This is my full-time job, so if you could take 2 seconds out of your day to hit that like button, it would be a great help. And if you enjoyed this video, then subscribe for more videos like it. Thank you so much. Now, let's begin. Ford Motor Company was founded by Henry Ford on June 16, 1903, in Detroit, Michigan. The company was formed by Henry and his partner, a wealthy businessman named John A. Fraser. The company's first product was called the Model A, which was manufactured from 1903 to 1904. It was produced at the company's first factory located at 1000 Paquette Avenue in downtown Detroit. At first glance, it may look like just a regular old quadricycle, but it was actually revolutionary for its day. Back when the quadricycle was released, there were 3 different classes of automobiles available to consumers. There were very expensive luxury vehicles that only the elite could afford, cheap quadricycles that were barely able to move faster than a horse, or vehicles in between. Ford changed everything with the Model A. It had a powerful engine that allowed it to reach speeds of up to 45 miles per hour. But it also cost only $600. Today, $600 is nothing. But back then, it was a bargain. The company produced about 10 of these models in 1903 and 1904. But they quickly ran into an issue. One of the wheels was manufactured incorrectly, so none of the parts would fit together. As a result, no one could drive them without having the wheels fixed. This obviously wasn't good for business, so Henry Ford set out to create a new vehicle that solved all of these problems. This led to the creation of Ford's next automobile. The Model B, unlike the quadricycle, the Model B used a 4-cylinder engine. This gave it more power, but it also required a larger frame. To accommodate the new engine, the Model B was the first automobile to have a separate engine compartment. This would become a staple of all future vehicles and is still used to this day. There were any major changes made to the Model B throughout its production years from 1904 to 1906. However, there was a small update made to the steering system to make it easier to control. It sold for around $850, making it the cheapest car on the market with comparable power to other mid-range vehicles. It was quite popular in the beginning, but sales quickly declined once competitors began offering similar products. After the Model B, Ford decided to create another prototype. In 1906, he revealed the Model C to the public. It was updated with a new straight-line 4 engine and a 2-speed transmission. This made it much more reliable, especially when compared to the earlier models. It was also updated with a new steering system that allowed it to turn much tighter. But despite all of these updates, it was very similar to the Model B, in fact. It was so similar that many people believed that the Model C was just a re-release of the Model B with minor changes. They were wrong. The Model C went through several different iterations throughout its production years from 1906 to 1908. These included the Model C Deluxe, the Model C Runabout, the Model C Roadster, and the Model C Touring. Each of these offered something slightly different, but overall, they were all pretty similar. Once again, Ford's sales began to decline because the competition began to catch up with their own similar models. But Ford refused to give up. He pushed his engineers to design a car that was not only reliable and affordable, but also easy to maintain. By now, you're probably wondering why we haven't talked about the Model T yet. That's because the Model T was never Ford's first car. The Model T was actually Ford's 8th car, and it was even the first model to use the quadricycle design. Before we get into the Model T, we have to talk about another car that was very important to Ford's success. The Model N. The Model N was Ford's first purpose-built truck. It was introduced in 1907 and it was based on the Model C chassis. It featured a 4-cylinder engine that was capable of producing 20 horsepower. This gave it plenty of power to haul heavy loads, but it also made it very fuel inefficient. The Model N was priced at around $1,600, and it was only produced for 3 years. During that time, Ford sold about 300 of them. Despite being quite expensive, it was still cheaper than most trucks on the market. However, it was discontinued in 1910 when Ford introduced a new model that would change the automotive industry forever. Let's go ahead and tell the story of the iconic Model T. The Model T was introduced in 1908 and it quickly became one of the best-selling automobiles of all time. It was affordable, reliable, and easy to maintain. The Model T was also the first car to use the famous assembly line production method. This allowed Ford to produce more cars in less time, while also reducing the cost of labor. Because of this, the Model T was the first car that could be mass-produced and sold to the mass. Before the Model T, cars were considered to be a luxury item, but Ford changed everything. By 1914, the average price of a new car was $360, but the Model T cost only $260, and it wasn't just the price that made the Model T so appealing, it was also the first car that came in multiple body styles. This included the touring car, the roadster, the coupe, the sedan, and the town car. There was even a Model T pickup truck that was built in very limited numbers. This gave consumers a lot of options to choose from, and allowed Ford to appeal to a wider audience. To say that the Model T was successful would be a huge understatement. By 1924, Ford had sold over 4 million of them worldwide. That's more than every other automaker combined. The Model T was so popular that Ford couldn't produce them fast enough. At one point, they had a 4-month-long waiting list for new cars. What is even more amazing is that the Model T didn't undergo any major changes during its production years. It was first introduced in 1908, and it was essentially the same car in 1927 when production ended. That's unheard of in the automotive industry where change is the only constant. However, Ford did make some updates to the Model T throughout the years. For example, in 1914, they introduced the Model T Speedster. This was a special version of the Model T that was designed to be more sporty. It featured a more powerful engine, better brakes, and a lower-profile body, but it was still very affordable, costing only $280. Despite its popularity, the Model T was eventually discontinued in 1927 due to competition from other automakers. The Model T was a revolutionary car that changed the way people viewed auto. It was the first car that was affordable, reliable, and easy to maintain. It was also the first car that was mass-produced using the assembly line method. Today, the Model T is considered to be one of the most important cars of all time. It paved the way for the modern era of automobiles and helped to make cars affordable for the average person. The Model T is a true classic that will never be forgotten. Well, that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button. I'll see you next time.